Nothing, absolutely nothing that's ever happened to you was by accident. The people who crossed your path, they weren't just passing by. They didn't appear out of thin air. They were silent invitations, echoes from the universe, or maybe whispers from your soul, nudging you, calling you to awaken to something bigger, something deeper. They'll tell you it was just coincidence. They'll say she came into your life by chance, that he broke your heart because it was meant to be that way, that those friends who vanished were just moving on. They'll urge you to let go, move on, and turn the page, but that's not the truth. That's the version we tell ourselves to avoid facing the raw, unfiltered pain, to escape diving into the abyss, the very one that leads to self-discovery. It's the comfortable narrative, but not the honest one. Carl Jung, one of the greatest minds in depth psychology, didn't believe in randomness. He saw patterns, archetypes, soul contracts. To Jung, life doesn't happen to you. Life reveals you. It uncovers, it tests, it confronts. And as he famously said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. So take a breath and think with me for a moment. What if that breakup that shattered you wasn't meant to destroy you, but to destroy an illusion? What if the betrayal you endured wasn't just bad luck, but a divine interference? What if the silence, the rejection, the abandonment were life's way of tearing you away from a path that was slowly poisoning your soul? You see, the universe doesn't send people, it sends reflections. Every single person that enters your life is a mirror. They show you what you refuse to see, your fears, your wounds, your worth, your repeating patterns, the one who loved you deeply and then vanished. Maybe they showed you how tightly you cling to what's fleeting, to what was never really yours to begin with. The one who manipulated you with guilt. Could they have mirrored that hidden part of you that still believes you have to suffer to be loved, and the one who walked away without a word? Maybe they were just a reflection too, a way for life to show you that the answers you keep searching for are already inside you. None of this was random. This was soul surgery. This was your essence crying out for help, begging to awaken, calling in exactly what you needed, not what your ego wanted, but what your evolution required. Because sometimes God doesn't send a hug. Sometimes he sends an earthquake, not to break you, but to shake you awake. Sometimes he sends someone who disrupts everything, someone who hurts, who stirs, who unearths something deep inside you, so that all the hidden, repressed, locked away parts of you finally come to light, so that one day you can look in the mirror and say, enough, now it's my turn. And listen, this isn't about blaming others. This is about awakening. It's about looking back, not with resentment, but with wisdom. Every person you've ever loved, hated, feared, or idealized was not a mistake. They were a message, a mirror, a portal. Carl Jung didn't just study people. He studied what existed behind them. The symbols, the soul agreements, the unseen patterns shaping our lives. And when you begin to see through that lens, you stop asking, why did they hurt me? And start asking, what were they trying to show me? That shift, that change in question, that's where healing begins. That's when you stop merely surviving the past and start remembering who you were before the pain, because the universe speaks to you through people. Jung didn't see random faces. He saw messages, disguised as human beings. Each person is a mirror, but not the kind you use to fix your hair. These are deeper mirrors, the kind that reflect parts of your soul you've spent a lifetime trying to hide, parts you need to embrace, to finally become whole. Have you ever experienced this? Has a total stranger ever said something so precise, so deep, that it felt like the universe was speaking directly through them? That wasn't luck. That was alignment. That was a soul contract activating itself at the exact moment you were ready to listen. And if you've lived something like that, drop a comment right now. I recognize the signs of life, or even, I choose to grow from every experience. And if this message is stirring something inside you, don't ignore it. Subscribe now to Unshakable Mind. Here, we dive deep into the places most people avoid. Here, pain becomes awakening, crisis becomes clarity, silence becomes an answer. Like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and get ready, because in the next chapter, we're going even deeper. Have you ever noticed how certain situations keep repeating themselves in your life, almost like life is trying to teach you something you keep ignoring? Carl Jung believed that as long as you refuse to face what lives inside you, your fears, your pain, your distorted beliefs, the outer world will keep sending people who press exactly on those tender points, not to hurt you, but with spiritual precision, because your soul isn't after comfort. It craves truth, it craves freedom, it longs for wholeness. And sometimes, the only way to reach that kind of inner authenticity is by walking straight through the fire that someone else lit inside you. A fire that burns, that disorients, that forces you to change. But here's the secret most people miss. The more you heal, the less chaotic the people you attract become. Because once your inner world begins to shift, the universe no longer needs to teach you through pain. You become a healed field. And what comes to you from the outside no longer mirrors your wounds, but your awareness. Heal the wound, and the mirror changes. So the next time someone enters your life, whether they bring love or bring pain, pause for a moment and ask yourself, what part of me is this person reflecting? What lesson did they come to teach me? What truth is rising to the surface because of them? If you have the courage to ask these questions, you'll stop seeing others as mistakes and start recognizing them as messengers of your soul. Even the ones who made you cry, the ones who left you shattered, the ones who, knowingly or not, taught you how to rise. Have you ever really considered that no one has ever entered your life by accident? They didn't just show up, they were placed, they were summoned. Carl Jung didn't believe in random meetings, he saw mirrors. Not the kind that reveal surface-level desires, but the kind that reveal the buried depths of your unconscious mind. Not everyone comes to love you. Not everyone shows up to support you. Some are sent to wake you up. These are the people who press on wounds you pretend don't exist, who stir up shadows that have been sleeping for years, who activate memories you thought were long buried. And even though it hurts, it's sacred. Imagine this. You're going about your day and out of nowhere, a stranger says something that completely shakes you, a single phrase that hits so deep it makes your heart race, like the universe itself used that person to deliver a message. That wasn't coincidence. That was a soul contract activating, an agreement your soul made long before your mind could understand why. And then maybe you fall in love. It's magical, intense, unforgettable, but eventually it turns into chaos. The relationship ends. You're left heartbroken, uncertain, filled with doubt. Why? Because that person didn't come to complete you. They came to reveal you, to tear down the illusion, to dismantle the false identity you were wearing like armor, everything you used to hide behind. The roles, the masks, the narratives now lie exposed. Carl Jung called this projection. Everything you refuse to see in yourself, your fear, your insecurity, your unresolved pain, ends up getting projected onto others. And guess what? The people around you absorb that projection. They become living mirrors of the parts of you that you've denied, the ones who irritate you the most. They reflect traits in yourself you can't accept, the ones you idealize. They carry wounds you haven't yet healed, and the ones you're terrified of losing. They point straight to the void you're most afraid to face alone. That's why I say people don't show up by chance. They're placed with precision. Some come as guides, others as messengers, and a few as sacred destroyers. They tear apart your ego, strip away your defenses, and force you to face the pain you thought you'd already conquered. And even though it hurts, that's healing. That's the beginning of what Jung called individuation, the process of becoming whole, of reclaiming every shattered, silenced, or forgotten piece of who you are. You don't become your higher self by reading self-help books. You become your higher self by surviving the people who came to shatter your illusions. That friend who betrayed you, he wasn't the villain, he was the mirror. He came to show you your abandonment wound. That relationship that triggered every insecurity, it was your soul holding up a mirror you refused to look into. And those who walked away without closure, they came to teach you that the closure you're looking for is yours to create. No one out there can fill what's missing in here. As Jung so powerfully said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life. And you will call it fate. If this resonates with you, don't ignore it. Let this message sink into the places you usually avoid. If you're here, listening, feeling, questioning, it's not by accident. That too is part of the alignment. Subscribe now to Unshakable Mind, because here we don't bypass the pain, we go through it. We don't fear the mirror, we learn to understand it. We don't run from the past, we use it to remember who we truly are. Share this video with someone who's ready to see their life through a deeper lens. And stay close, because the next chapter is about the healing that happens after the mirror shatters. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life, and you will call it fate. That's what Carl Jung said. And most people, they live exactly that way. They run from their triggers. They avoid the discomfort. They distract themselves endlessly. But what if the trigger was actually the teacher? What if that person who still haunts your thoughts isn't there? Because they're coming back, but because the lesson they carried still hasn't been accepted. Every human interaction is sacred. Every relationship is a spiritual classroom, and every pain in the heart is a calling. If this is making sense to you, pause right now and write in the comments, I accept the teachers of my journey. I become whole with every lesson. And if you're here searching for clarity, not comfort, you're in the right place. Subscribe to Unshakable Mind, because here we don't offer easy answers. We offer exactly what your soul's been craving: depth, clarity, transformation. Like this video, share it with someone going through a tough time. And get ready, because in the next part, we continue walking this path toward the truth that heals. But for now, let me ask you something. What if you started looking at your story with new eyes? Instead of asking, why did this happen to me? Try asking, what is this trying to show me? Because the universe doesn't speak in words. It speaks in silence, in endings, in betrayals, in rejection. Each one, a sacred page in the story of your evolution. And when you finally find the courage to listen with your heart, you'll realize it was never punishment. It was always preparation. It's in the wound that the light enters. Jung understood that better than most. He didn't see suffering as punishment. He saw it as passage, as crossing over. He said, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. The soul doesn't grow in comfort. It grows in the discomfort, in the cracks, in the long dark nights of the soul. And as hard as it might be to accept, those who hurt you, those who left you, those who shattered you, they weren't random. They were summoned by your very essence. They were tailored, hand-picked like scalpels in the hands of fate, cutting away the masks you wore just to survive. Think about it. That person who betrayed your trust, it hurt. But that pain forced you to recalibrate your path, to ask, who truly deserves my energy? That relationship that left you in the dark, it broke you, but it also rebuilt you. It taught you how to light your own way, instead of depending on someone else's flashlight. That friend who disappeared when you needed them most? Yes, That hurt too, but it showed you a truth. Not everyone deserves a seat at your healing table. These experiences weren't just episodes, they were initiations, silent rituals, sacred fires. They burned away the outdated versions of you. So, the truth of who you are could finally emerge, raw, powerful, whole. Because here's one of the greatest truths Jung ever left behind. The wound is the place where the light enters you, and those who hurt you were, unknowingly, part of your rebirth. You don't become strong by being spared from pain. You become strong by turning pain into purpose. Yes, they hurt you, but in doing so, they opened doors inside you that would have stayed locked forever. You stopped giving without boundaries. You stopped tolerating what made you feel small. You started honoring your value. You began healing the voice from childhood that whispered, "You're only worthy when you're useful." So don't curse them. Thank them. Thank them for doing what your comfort zone never had the courage to do. Thank them for being the storm that ripped the roof off your illusion. Because only then did you look up and realize it was always your job to build your own sky. In Jungian psychology, the shadow is not the enemy. It's an invitation, and often it's the people who press hardest on your shadow who hold the keys to your next evolution. So instead of asking, "Why did they do this to me?" ask, "What did their presence awaken in me?" That's where healing begins. Not when you forget what happened, but when you understand what it came to teach you. And if you've already walked through something like this, if you've felt the pain, the awakening, the rising, drop a comment right now. I transform pain into awareness. My healing begins with my courage, because every time you choose clarity over resentment, you take a step out of the cycle, you exit the pattern, and you enter the creation of a new identity, one that is no longer defined by who hurt you, but by who you decided to become because of it. And now, let's go even deeper. Have you ever looked into someone's eyes and felt like the conversation had started lifetimes ago? That kind of gaze that pierces straight through you. Have you ever felt that kind of silence that speaks louder than words? That feeling of "I know you," even though you've just met. That's not chemistry, that's soul memory. Carl Jung believed that behind all our identities, beneath all our roles, names and stories, there's something greater. He called it the collective unconscious, a spiritual field where the memories of the soul reside, untouched by time or space. It's why you can meet someone for the first time and feel like home. Because your bodies may be new to each other, but your souls have already danced together long before now. It's not fantasy, it's resonance. Some souls don't come to teach you something new. They come to remind you of who you've always been. You might say, "It feels like I've known you forever." But what your soul is really whispering is, "Ah, it's you again." These aren't just relationships. They are revelations. Some last a moment, some last a lifetime. But they always leave something behind, a mark, a message, a key, to something buried deep inside you. Even the ones that broke you, even those that left you shattered and speechless, they were part of something sacred. And if this message is resonating with you, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video, share it with someone who needs it, and drop a comment below. I honor every soul that has crossed my path. My transformation is sacred. And most importantly, subscribe to Unshakable Mind. Because this isn't just about content. This is about seeing life through the lens of the soul. In the next chapter, we'll go even deeper on this journey toward your truest self. But first, let me ask you something more personal. Have you ever felt like some people don't enter your life? They return. Not strangers, but living memories. People who seem familiar, even though logic tells you they shouldn't. People who awaken something ancient within you. as if some quiet part of you had always been waiting for them. Jung called this the soul, agreements made. Before memory, forged in energy, sealed in purpose, some of these soul encounters come to love you, some to challenge you, and others to wake you up from the sleep of unconscious living. You don't attract these people by accident. You recognize them. And when that recognition happens, it's undeniable. The world goes silent. Time slows down. And something deep inside you whispers, this moment matters. It's not reason. It's soul recognition. Jung understood this deeply. He once said, the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is a reaction, both are transformed. And that's exactly what these soul encounters do. They transform you, not always softly, not always peacefully, but always spiritually, because the soul isn't here for comfort, it's here to grow, and sometimes growth comes wrapped in chaos, in overwhelming passion, in connections that make you feel both completely safe and dangerously awake. So when you meet someone who makes every cell in your body whisper, this is something timeless, trust that. That's not a fantasy. That's a contract unfolding. It's the universe reminding you, you are not alone on this path. You're traveling with a soul group, scattered across timelines, reunited by purpose, woven together by destiny. These connections are sacred, even the ones that ended in heartbreak, even the ones that didn't last. Because even if the ending was human, the purpose was divine. Some souls stay, some teach, some leave, and that's not failure, it's design. It's the architecture of the soul playing out exactly as it should. Some people are like cherry blossoms, delicate, magical, fleeting. Their beauty lies in their impermanence. They didn't come to stay. They came to remind you what is beautiful is not meant to be possessed, only lived. Others come like wild storms, intense, unpredictable. They don't knock, they don't ask. They enter your life, dismantle who you thought you were. And when they leave, they take your illusions with them. But what they leave behind, clarity, strength, a foundation you never knew you had. And then there are the quiet ones, the ones like invisible roots. They stay beneath the surface, unnoticed by most, but they're there when no one else is. They hold your weight when you've forgotten how to stand. These souls don't need to fix you. Their presence alone is healing. Jung believed that every soul we meet holds symbolic meaning. There are no accidents, only inner projections colliding with outer reflections. He once said, your vision will become clear only when you look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakens. So if this message stirred something within you, don't let it fade. Like this video, share it, comment your truth. And above all, subscribe to Unshakable Mind, because this journey isn't about the eyes, it's about the soul. And in the next chapter, we'll explore what happens when pain stops being the enemy and becomes your greatest guide. Your vision becomes clear only when you look within your own heart. Those who look outward dream, but those who look inward awaken. And every relationship, every connection is an invitation to that awakening. But here's where so many fall into the same trap. We try to turn what's meant to be temporary into something permanent. We cling to blossoms and beg them to grow roots. We fall in love with the storm and plead for it to stay. We confuse teachers with soulmates. We turn lessons into lifelong contracts, but the universe doesn't work that way. It sends people according to your current level of consciousness. And when their message has been delivered, when the soul contract is fulfilled, they may leave because their mission is complete. So instead of resisting, honor it. It's not about how long someone stayed. It's about what they awakened inside of you while they were there. Maybe they sparked your self-worth. Maybe they mirrored back a wound you didn't know was still open. Maybe they made you feel seen in a way you had forgotten was possible. That was the purpose. Every soul connection is an echo of something greater, an unconscious pattern being rewritten, a new version of you being born. So instead of asking, why didn't they stay? Ask yourself, what part of me did they help me remember? Maybe the friend who ignored your pain taught you that loyalty should never have to be begged for. Maybe the love who disappeared without goodbye showed you the power of internal closure. Maybe the mentor who disappointed you gave you the final push you needed to stop idolizing others and start trusting your own wisdom. That's not abandonment. That's spiritual redirection. Because when you hold on to someone who was never meant to stay, you delay the sacred cycle that's trying to unfold in your life. So if this message is stirring something in you, drop a comment. I honor every soul encounter. I'm ready to release what has fulfilled its purpose. And if this video sparked a light in your soul, subscribe now to Unshakable Mind. Because this isn't just about healing, it's about returning to your center. Here, we don't just speak to your mind, we speak to your soul. Hit the like button, share this with someone who needs this message, and join us in the next chapter of this inner journey, because not every chapter in your life needs a villain. Sometimes, people just leave. No drama, no goodbye, no explanation, and that doesn't mean there was no love, no respect, or no meaning. It simply means the soul contract was complete. And the more you honor the exits, the more aligned the new arrivals will be. But we demand answers. Someone vanishes, and their silence echoes louder than any farewell. You replay old messages. You relive every moment. You search for mistakes, for clues, for missteps, as if closure is something the other person owes you, as if you deserve a final scene. But the truth is quieter and harder. They didn't leave by chance. They left because their role in your story came to an end. The scene was finished. The cycle had closed. Carl Jung said something simple that most avoid facing. What you resist persists. And the more you fight to understand why someone left, the more you get stuck. You feed a cycle of pain and obsession, trying to rewrite a chapter that has already closed. The real pain isn't always in the leaving. It's in your resistance to accept that it ended. We grew up believing that true friends never walk away, that real love always comes back, that those who disappear were never real. But that's the child's version of truth. The soul's truth is harsher and far more freeing. Some people didn't come to stay. They came to shake you, to wake you, to push you out of comfort that was quietly keeping you stuck. And when their role is done, they leave. Not as punishment, but as completion. Still, we cling, because we confuse duration with depth. We believe the longer someone remains, the more meaningful it must have been. But sometimes the briefest encounter leaves the deepest imprint. Not every goodbye comes with words. Sometimes the silence is the goodbye. And here's something that could change your life. Closure isn't something someone else gives you. It's something you give yourself. You don't need an explanation to move forward. You don't need validation to reclaim your power. You don't need answers to end the chapter. Instead, ask yourself, what did this person's presence awaken in me? What version of me was born through that pain? What did they reflect back that I still needed to face? If that reflection brought you closer to yourself, don't walk away from it. Honor it. Like this video, leave a comment and share it with someone who's holding on to a goodbye that never came. And if your soul is calling for more, subscribe now to Unshakable Mind. This journey is just beginning, and you are exactly where you're meant to be. True healing begins when you let go, not out of anger, but out of gratitude, not from bitterness, but from understanding. Because sometimes the universe doesn't want you to understand. It wants you to evolve, and to evolve, you must release. Let go of the moments, let go of the plans, let go of the questions that haunt you. Take a deep breath, bow your head, and even if they never hear it, say thank you. Because some of the deepest goodbyes don't sound like endings, they sound like rebirth. Now listen to this, really listen with an open heart. You're not just someone grieving someone else's exit. You too are part of this sacred dance. While you're out there trying to understand why they disappeared, someone, somewhere, is healing because you existed. While you're wondering what that person came to teach you, someone is whispering to the universe, "Thank you for placing this person in my path." You weren't just a student in someone's life. You were a mirror, a trigger for healing, a quiet embrace, the conversation that lit a spark, the storm that forced someone to rebuild, the peace that reminded them they deserved more. You were someone's awakening, even if they never told you, even if they left, even if your name is never spoken again. That's the mystery of soul contracts. Not everyone comes with a manual, not every ending comes with applause, but every single one holds deep purpose. You may not even realize it, but you've been planting healing everywhere you go. And maybe, just maybe, now is the time for you to harvest some of that healing for yourself. If this resonates with your soul, drop a comment below. I release with gratitude. I am ready to close what has fulfilled its purpose. And if this message found you at just the right moment, subscribe now to Unshakable Mind. This is where your soul finds words, where pain turns into wisdom, where endings become openings. Like the video, share it with someone who needs this release. And meet me in the next block. We're just getting started. Stay steady. Your journey has only just begun, because not every thank you needs to be spoken aloud. But the energy you leave behind, even in silence, can be permanent. Carl Jung didn't just study the conscious mind. He explored the deep rivers of the soul, the invisible threads that stitch our lives together. The moments that feel like coincidence but are anything but. He understood pain connects us, and the experiences that hurt us the most are often the ones that bring us closest to our truth and to each other. Jung saw life as a divine tapestry. Every person, every encounter, every tear, every goodbye, a thread interwoven with countless others. Nothing is random. You're not just a thread being pulled. You are pulling too. You are weaving. You are transforming. You've already been the turning point in someone else's journey. You've already been the silent scream that told the truth, the look that awakened a sleeping heart, the embrace that held someone together mid-collapse. And maybe you don't even know that. And that's okay. The soul doesn't always give receipts. But believe this with your whole being. You matter. You've already changed the course of someone's life without even realizing it. So before you get lost mourning who left, before you fall into regret over how deeply you loved, how much you trusted, stop. Breathe. You're not just a passenger in this story. You are a mirror, a guide, an active soul in this sacred dance we call life. You've been the reason someone realized they needed to change. You've been the pause, the light, the push. You're a transmitter of energy. Even in your pain, you inspire. Even in your shadow, you teach. That's why you're never truly alone. Next time you feel forgotten, replaced, or invisible, remember, you were the answer to someone's silent prayer. If this spoke to your heart, drop a comment. I am part of someone's awakening. My presence matters, even in silence. And if that truth stirred something inside you, subscribe now to Unshakable Mind. This is your space to remember that your existence has meaning, even when everything around you feels like it's falling apart. Carl Jung didn't just map thoughts. He mapped the soul's evolution, and if you've ever asked why certain paths crossed yours, why you had to lose so much, why you felt so deeply, why you've changed so drastically, maybe it's because you didn't come here just to be transformed. You came here to transform. That's the beauty and the responsibility of living with awareness. You're not just here to survive the days, you're here to light the way. You were never just meant to survive. You were meant to be a turning point, a breath in the middle of someone else's storm, a reminder that even pain has a purpose. And when you embrace that truth, you take your power back. You stop blaming. You stop waiting for others to give you closure. You realize the ending doesn't have to come from them. It can start with you. You weren't weak for loving. You weren't foolish for trusting. You were human. And now, you're becoming conscious. Carl Jung once said something that still echoes through time like a whispered truth. There is no awakening without pain. That ache you feel right now, it's not failure. It's a passage. It's transformation. It's your soul cracking old shells. Because the lesson was never about them. It's always been about you. So instead of losing yourself, trying to resuscitate the past, ask the real question. What was the universe trying to show me through that person? And when the answer comes, you'll stop repeating the same cycles, the same patterns, just wearing new faces. That's the hidden gift in all the wrong encounters, yes, even them, because energy doesn't lie. The soul feels long before the mind understands. Has this ever happened to you? You meet someone, and something shifts in the air. No words, no explanation, no logic. But you feel it. The room feels heavier or lighter. Your body reacts before your brain can catch up. Why? Because your soul recognizes patterns. It reads energy before your thoughts even form. Sometimes someone tells you, "I love you," but your body tightens, your stomach knots, something feels off. Other times, someone simply looks at you, and your heart exhales. This feels like home. That's not superstition, that's energetic intelligence. That's your nervous system translating what your soul already knows. Carl Jung believed in this, in psychic fields, in invisible forces connecting us, each of us carrying our own field, shaped by trauma, pain, light, and truth. And when those fields meet, a silent conversation happens. Before words, before touch, before hello, the energy has already spoken. You can feel it when someone praises you, but inside it rings hollow. You feel it when someone smiles, but the room doesn't brighten. You feel it when someone is polite, but something about them dims your light. Why? Because the soul hears truth before the mouth says a word. So next time something feels strange, heavy, or just off, listen. Trust it. Your soul knows. If this is helping you hear your soul more clearly, if it's aligning with what you're living through, leave a comment. My soul knows what's real. I trust my energy. And if this message speaks to something inside you, subscribe now to Unshakable Mind. This channel exists to remind you your path is sacred, your intuition is golden. And you are never alone. Like the video, hit the bell, share it with someone who needs this truth, because you are part of something far bigger than you can see right now. And your next chapter is already on its way. Let's talk about something you've probably felt but couldn't quite explain. You meet someone, they smile, they say all the right things, they seem harmless, but suddenly your body contracts, your breath shortens. The room feels heavier. That feeling has a name. Energetic intelligence. The truth is, you feel much more than you understand. Your subconscious mind picks up nuances, tones, gestures, micro-expressions, vibrations. You're like an antenna, sensitive to the invisible. That's why you trusted people who looked good, but drained you. and why you distanced yourself from people who seemed rough, but carried a mysterious peace. It's not judgment, it's soul recognition, it's vibrational alignment. So the question is, are you ready to trust that? Radar, because it's been speaking to you the entire time. Intuition doesn't speak in logic, it speaks through a tight stomach, tense shoulders, and unexplained pressure in your chest. Or the opposite, that deep sense of calm, that inner expansion, that feeling of, yes, this feels right. Don't ignore that. If you've ever felt it with someone, comment below. My body feels before my mind understands. I trust my vibration. And if this message is stirring something inside you, subscribe to Unshakable Mind. Here, you'll learn how to listen more deeply, to honor your soul's signals, to turn perception into power. Because remember, energy never lies. Some people carry chaos behind a calm smile. They've mastered the performance of kindness. They know the script of goodness by heart, but you feel it. You feel the weight they bring into a room. Others, they've walked through storms. They may seem rough, weathered, quiet, but they carry a peace that defies words. Sometimes it's just a look deep, maybe tired, maybe quiet, but when they're around, your soul lets out a breath, like it's been holding it for years. There's no need for a speech, no need to explain. You feel it, presence, truth, a story behind the silence. So trust the signal, not the speech. Those who drain you do so for a reason. They're leaking wounds, opening doors that should have stayed closed. Their energy fields don't match yours, and in that mismatch, they reach for your light. Not because they respect it, but because they've lost theirs. But the ones who expand you, they've faced their own darkness. They've fallen. They've rebuilt. They've turned pain into wisdom. You feel the difference. You don't need evidence. Your body already knows. Carl Jung once said, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens." Awakening means stopping the endless questioning. Why do I feel this way around them? And finally saying with calm certainty, if my soul contracts, that's enough. If my spirit expands, that is sacred. No logic, no explanation, no justification needed. You are frequency, you are energy, you are vibration, and the people around you are either feeding your vibration or poisoning it. So protect your peace, guard your space, defend your emotional oxygen, because the soul always knows, even when the mind denies it, even when the heart is confused, even when your mouth says, "I'm fine," but your energy already left the room. Your vibration doesn't lie. Trust it. Drop it in the comments. My energy is my shield. If my soul contracts, I walk away. And stay with us here on Unshakable Mind, a space where your perception isn't dismissed as too much. It's honored as deep wisdom. And that wisdom, it's what sets you free. Letting go. Letting go. We grew up thinking that letting go meant losing. But the truth? Letting go is how you finally win yourself back. You don't need closure. You don't need a perfect explanation. Not a final message, not one last hug, not even a goodbye. You don't need to chase after those who walked away, because if someone can leave you, even after you showed up as your truest, most awakened, most whole self, they were never truly aligned with your essence. Jung said, "You are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to become." Letting go isn't collapse. It's growth. It's not loss. It's liberation. Many confuse pain with regret, thinking that because it hurts, it must mean they lost something irreplaceable. But often, that pain, it's grief for your former self, the version of you that settled for crumbs, that apologized for feeling too much, that needed someone else's presence to feel complete. You don't miss the person, you miss the comfort of who you were with them, even if that comfort was just a veil hiding your true greatness. But today, you're beyond that. You've raised your standards. You've stepped into a new field. You've realized that chasing someone is no longer a gesture of love. It's a form of self-abandonment. And when you finally let go, you're not losing anyone. You're releasing the part of yourself that still thought it had to be invisible to be loved. That's the truth. Letting go isn't emotional failure. It's a spiritual milestone. It's the moment your soul whispers, enough. No more bargaining my peace. No more begging for presents. No more shrinking just to fit in. If that's hitting something deep in you, drop it in the comments. I choose myself. I no longer chase those who left. And subscribe now to Unshakable Mind. This space is here to reconnect you with your worth, to teach you that letting go is how you love yourself courageously. So take a deep breath, place your hand over your heart, and say it, not with your voice, but with your soul. Letting go isn't loss. It's remembering who I am. This is where real transformation begins. Not when someone apologizes, not when the pieces all fit together, but in that silent, unseen moment, when you stop crying over someone who was never fully present to begin with, and ask yourself, with raw honesty, why did I accept so little and call it everything? You stop writing long messages to people who reply with silence. You stop trying to unlock doors that are sealed from the inside, and finally, you begin to rewrite your identity, no longer as someone begging for the basics, but as someone who knows you were always meant for more. Drop this in the comments if you're ready. I'm rewriting my story. I no longer beg for crumbs. I give myself the feast I deserve. And if this message is waking something up inside you, subscribe now to Unshakable Mind, because this is where you remember what the world tried to make you forget. You are whole. You are power. You are the home you spent so long searching for in others. The magic of liberation begins in the exact second you stop waiting. Maybe it's not about demanding an apology. Maybe it's time to thank yourself for finally walking away. And that's when the universe responds, not because it just started listening, but because it had been waiting for you to stop forcing, for you to finally let go. Because when you release what was never meant to stay, you create space for what had always been waiting to arrive. The right people don't show up when your heart is still clutching ghosts. They come when your hands are empty, when your soul is ready to receive something real. So yes, let it go. Bless those who left, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. You deserve a life that doesn't feel like survival. You deserve a love that doesn't ask you to shrink as proof of loyalty. You deserve alignment that needs no justification. This is your portal to spiritual liberation, not because it's painless, but because it finally heals. Because for the first time you stop asking, why did they leave? And start asking, why did I stay? Even after I knew the truth. That question, that's the beginning of your power, of your purpose, of your peace. If that question stirred something inside you, type it in the comments right now. I choose myself now. And remember what Carl Jung made so clear. Your vision will only become clear when you look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams? Who looks inside awakens? And maybe, just maybe, letting go wasn't the ending after all. Maybe it was the beginning. Your awakening. You spent so much time chasing signs, waiting for messages from the universe, silently begging for someone, anyone to come and save you. But here's the truth. You were never meant to be saved. You were meant to remember that the power you were searching for always lived inside you, that the healing you begged others to give you was already buried deep in your own bones, that the love you thought you had to earn was hidden beneath years of self-abandonment. You were never lost. You were waiting for this moment, this return, this homecoming to yourself. Jung said it, and now you're living it. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens. And now you're awakening. You've stopped asking broken people to mirror your wholeness. You've stopped measuring your worth by how much attention you receive. You've stopped confusing presence with connection. And for the first time, you've started hearing something deeper. Your breath, your limits, your soul whispering, "Welcome back." This is real healing, not fixing, but returning, not patching wounds, but remembering who you were before the world interrupted. You're not rebuilding, you're revealing. You're unlearning every lie that made you forget your own divinity. Every time you cried because someone didn't choose you, your soul was really begging for you to choose yourself. Every abandonment, it wasn't rejection, it was redirection, spiritual sovereignty. You thought you were breaking, but you were actually being born. So now you can finally say with clarity, I don't chase, I attract, I don't beg, I breathe. I don't need to be fixed. I just needed space to remember I was whole all along. Type this in the comments if it resonates. I wasn't lost. I was revealing myself. My healing is my return. You were never broken, just buried. And now that you've cleared the rubble of the past, you can rise, fully, unapologetically, completely. No more begging for acceptance, no more negotiating your essence. You have become what you always were, the version of yourself that was waiting on the other side of pain. This is your sovereignty, this is your soul, this is your return. And it doesn't come with noise, it doesn't come with drama. It arrives with a quiet force, one that doesn't need applause to validate its healing or permission to confirm its growth. You'll feel it in your peace, in your boundaries, in the way you no longer tolerate what once made you shrink in silence. If this message reached something sacred in you, if even a line felt like it was meant just for you, hit that like button. Type it in the comments, I chose peace, and subscribe now to Unshakable Mind, because here you don't just understand, you transform. It was tempting to go back, wasn't it? To revisit, to restart where it all paused. But you're not that person anymore, and thank God for that. That old version of you, it was built in the fires of survival, shaped by emotional chaos, defined by fear of being alone, of being unseen, of never being enough. But this new version, this quiet force rising from within, she's not surviving anymore. She's ready. Here's a truth no one ever told you, but deep down, you always knew. You were always the answer. You were always the home you were searching for. You were always the love. The most powerful kind of love isn't the one others give you. It's the love you offer yourself, especially on the days when no one else seems to see you. You spent your whole life chasing that love, in their words, in their arms, in their validation. But the love you were chasing was never theirs to give. It was always yours to remember. Carl Jung once said, "Loneliness does not come from being alone, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to you." And that's where the fracture began. Not from a lack of people, but from a lack of connection to your truth. From the gap between who you are and what you've been expressing. From trading the sacredness of your heart just to keep someone else's presence around. You were never someone. Unloved. You were simply disconnected from the source within you. You begged for their attention while avoiding your own reflection in the mirror. You poured your last drops of hope into watering their soul, while yours was drying out in silence. You posted words about self-worth, hoping someone might read between the lines, hoping someone might hear the pain you couldn't say out loud. But now, the performance ends. The awakening begins. This is the moment. This is your invitation to type in The comments, I return to myself, my truth is enough. And if something in these words is touching your heart, don't wait. Subscribe now to Unshakable Mind. Because here, you don't just listen. You remember who you are. Here's the truth that can change your story. The most powerful love is the love you offer to yourself. It's not about romance. It's not about recognition. It's not even about reciprocity. It's the kind of love that whispers, I am enough, even alone. It's the love that allows you to walk beside yourself without feeling lonely, to cry without shame, to sit in silence and still feel whole. This isn't ego, it's remembrance. You're remembering how sacred your presence is, how vast your heart is, how powerful your soul has always been. You're realizing that being loved by them was never the point. Being loved by you, that's where the healing starts. Because the moment you stop begging to be chosen, you realize you were already chosen. Chosen by life, by the divine, by the breath still moving through your lungs, and the fire still burning in your core. You are the soulmate you've been waiting for. So love yourself with the same depth you gave to others. Stay by your side like you stayed for them during their storms. Fight for yourself the way you fought for the potential of those who could barely even see you. This path isn't lonely, it's legendary. And when you finally return home to yourself, the right ones will come. But not to complete you, they'll come to celebrate you. Whole souls don't attract chaos, they attract reflections of their own light. So next time you long for a message from them, send one to yourself. When you wish they'd show up for yourself. Not just with flowers or sweet words, but with truth, with boundaries, with protection, because no one else can offer you the kind of love that soothes your nervous system. The world will keep spinning, people will keep leaving, but you've finally arrived, and that alone is more than enough. This is the most powerful love story of all, the one where you choose yourself and never abandon who you are again. So read this slowly. The people who came into your life, they weren't random, they weren't mistakes, they weren't distractions, they were divine detours, whispers of the universe in human form. Each one came with a mirror. Some awakened your awareness, some tested your worth, some taught you how to release with grace, and others, finally, taught you to choose yourself. They weren't your forever, they were your becoming. Jung once said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. So here it is, your invitation, your initiation. Stop chasing closure. Start claiming clarity. Stop asking why they left. Start asking, what version of me did they activate? What part of me still needs to be reintegrated? Because this journey was never about losing them. It was always about finding you. You weren't abandoned. You were elevated. You weren't rejected. You were redirected back to yourself. Now it's your turn. No more shrinking just to fit someone else's comfort. Enough begging for the kind of love you already give so effortlessly. Enough clinging to the ghosts of what could have been. This is your spiritual rebellion, your energetic upgrade. If something inside you is awakening with these words, comment now. I am my own healing. The love I longed for lives in me. And if this message touched your spirit, leave a like and subscribe to Unshakable Mind, because you deserve a space where your soul doesn't have to whisper to be heard. Now say this out loud. I trust divine timing. I honor the lesson. I choose the new. Type that in the comments if you're ready. Ready to step out of the past and into your power. Say it like a mantra. Say it like a promise to your future. Because your healing isn't just personal. It's generational. It's cosmic. It's real. And now listen closely. If something opened in you, if this message stirred your soul, if it reminded you that your pain was never punishment but preparation, then share it. Don't just subscribe, stay awake. This channel isn't about going viral, it's about going inward, not for numbers, but for truth, not for attention, but for alignment. So before you go, share this with someone who thinks they're broken. Let them know they're not broken, they're becoming. Tag someone who thought it was just a broken heart. Remind them it was a soul upgrade. And to the version of you that's still healing quietly, you are not late, you are not lost, you are remembering, and your return to yourself starts now. You no longer need to prove yourself to anyone. You don't need to justify your choices, your scars, your sensitivity, because now you know true freedom begins the moment you stop asking for permission to be whole. For so long, you bent to fit their expectations, wore versions of yourself you didn't recognize, swallowed words, held back tears, faked. Strength while breaking inside, all of it, just to be loved, accepted, seen, but the soul can only live in disguise for so long. Eventually, the silence becomes louder than any praise. Your body starts aching from carrying truths you locked away, and your heart stops begging for attention and starts craving authenticity. That's when the return begins. It's quiet, it's deep, almost invisible to others. But inside, it's a revolution. You start saying no. You begin honoring your own boundaries. You walk away from spaces that require you to shrink. At first it feels like loneliness, but soon you realize it's space. Space to breathe, to heal, to remember who you've always been before the world tried to rewrite you. You learn you don't need an audience to bloom. You don't need anyone's validation to follow your truth, because now you hear yourself. Now you choose yourself, and that changes everything. It changes the kind of love you accept. It changes how you respond to disrespect. It changes what you expect from life, because when you treat yourself with reverence, the universe learns to do the same. And in that sacred space of return, you find a peace that doesn't depend on anyone, a clarity that doesn't come from outer answers, but from inner stillness. And for the first time, you understand. It was never about them choosing you. It was about you stopping the cycle of abandoning yourself. You no longer search for love like a traveler seeking shelter beneath someone else's roof. Now you build home within, a home where your pain is welcome, where your shadows are integrated, where your light doesn't have to apologize for shining. This is the new you, not perfect, not immune to the fall, but awake, whole, rooted in truth. And even on the days when pain returns, when memories try to pull you back, you now hold something you never had before: awareness. And with awareness comes freedom. The freedom to stop repeating cycles. The freedom to no longer give your heart to those who only want to touch the surface. You are your own home, your own guide, your own miracle, and no one can take that away. Sometimes what hurts the most isn't what happened, but what never did. The words never spoken, the hugs that never came, the endings that never closed, like broken promises floating in time. But there is something more powerful than any closure. The moment you decide you no longer need it, you learn you don't need their apology to move on. You realize their regret isn't what validates your pain, and their recognition will never be what heals your absence, because real healing begins to be continued. Something shifts when you stop waiting for others to see what you have already seen, when you become the very light you were waiting for, when you choose to look at yourself with tenderness, with patience, with deep respect. A transformation begins, quiet but powerful. You realize that everything you've lived through, every heartbreak, every loss, every disappointment, was never a punishment. It was never a sentence. It was a silent preparation. invisible to the outside world, but crystal clear to your soul. Every fall was a step upward, even when it felt like defeat, leading you toward your most whole, most authentic self. Yes, there was pain, intense, undeniable pain. But alongside it, something sacred was born, firm boundaries where there once were none, discernment about who and what deserves your energy, and most of all, a self-love that no longer needs outside approval, a love that rises from within, authentic, unshakable. You stop chasing those who don't see you. You stop explaining your essence to those who only offer silence. You stop showing up for people who only ever disappear. And that shift, so subtle, so silent, is the deepest kind of liberation. It's not a scream. It's not a reaction. It's a conscious choice, a quiet act of radical self-love. It's the moment your soul, exhausted from begging for crumbs, decides to sit down and feast. It's when you realize that the love you searched for out there was always the love you were meant to give yourself. No bargains, no expectations, no pain. And in that exact moment, the universe begins to move toward you. Because the energy you emit when you are whole is no longer a cry for help. It becomes a force field, a beacon, and it attracts everything that resonates with your new frequency. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have healed everything or erased every scar. You just need to be present in your truth, honor what you feel, and protect your peace like something sacred, because it is. And from that place, that surrender to what truly matters, everything begins to change. The losses that once shattered you become fertile ground for something new to bloom. The absence of those who left no longer feels like an emptiness, but like a quiet presence that strengthens you. What once felt like an ending now reveals itself as a sacred beginning, a new chapter, a new path. You realize it was never about rejection, never about being abandoned. It was always about finding yourself, coming home to the wild beauty, the depth, the complexity of your truth. You begin to see that every soul who crossed your path, even those who left, played a divine role in your evolution. Every goodbye was actually an invitation to go deeper within, to take responsibility for your own happiness, your own wholeness. You learn that true freedom isn't about controlling what happens outside you. It's about releasing the need to. It's about letting go of the fear of loss, the grip of expectation, the stories others wrote about who you're supposed to be. Freedom is being who you are, fully, with your light and your shadows, with your strength and your softness, with your scars and your spark. And this awakening, this reconnection with your essence, is the greatest gift you can ever give yourself. Because when you accept yourself, when you honor yourself, the entire world begins to align with your new frequency. You are no longer a prisoner of memories. You become the author of your own story. You stop searching outward for what was always within. You realize that real healing begins the moment you stop chasing what you can't control and start nurturing what truly matters, yourself. And in the silence of this return to self, a new peace is born. A deep, steady, unshakable peace. A peace that doesn't depend on anyone. That isn't shaken by what happens outside. A peace born from knowing your intrinsic worth, your sacred right to exist, whole, free, and fully you. This is your journey. This is your rebirth, and it begins now, in this very moment, with the simplest act of turning inward and declaring, I am worthy, I choose to be whole.